What's going on, YouTube? It's been a long time since I've made a video. I thought I'd show my 2007 Civic EX. It doesn't exactly look like an EX anymore, but I'm going to show some of the stuff that I've done to this car to convert it to an SI. So yeah, as I said, it's an 07 EX. I've got the full SI interior swapped into here. Door panels, black carpet, seats, rear seats as well. Center console. I did the headliner black. I did that custom because you cannot get a black headliner for any 8th gen. I did the trims as well and the handles. But yeah, anyways, so this is a 07 EX. It's been fully SI swapped. Cluster, just every bit of wiring in the car has been gutted out and taken from, believe it or not, a 2-door SI. So this is a 4-door. So being that this is a 4-door and my donor car was a 2-door, I did have some complications, which I will get into. But the car runs and drives like a stock Civic Si, except it's a little bit louder. So yeah, I'll get into all that. So up here, the motor, I've got a stock K20 Si. This is the second motor that I've put in this car. This car originally had an R18. It was a base model Civic FA1. Not an FA5. You can see here my VIN says FA1. It's an FA15. That's my joke that I made because it's FA5 swapped, but it's not one. So anyways, this is the motor that originally I had put into the car. This was out of a 2010 2-door coupe SI with 300,000 kilometers, or 295K. Just under 300,000. So this motor, I swapped it in the car, and when I had gotten this car, it was wrecked, major frame damage, so there was no point in fixing it, and I wanted to have a 4-door SI for cheap. So I got the parts car for only $1,300, and that's like the price you'd pay for a good K-series motor. So I got a steal of a deal on the parts car. This motor, I put it in this car, and it ran for 700 kilometers before I realized that it had a small rod knock. So I decided to pick up another motor and pull that one out. And I'm going to rebuild that engine, but I have not gotten around to it yet. This motor has 200,000 kilometers, and that one had 300,000 when I put this in. So this one is exactly 100K less than what the odometer reads, and the transmission is the original transmission to that motor, but it has been rebuilt, and I have a stage 1 Exetti race clutch in there. It's nothing too crazy, but it's a little bit stiffer than stock, and it's meant to handle a little bit more power without slipping, so I like it. I haven't really had any issues with it other than just comparing it to a stock clutch. It is a lot less enjoyable to daily drive, especially with stop-and-go traffic, but it is what it is. And if you caught in the last clip that this valve cover on this engine says 07 Civic Si, this is the valve cover off of the engine that is now in the car. So this was originally on there. It was out of an 07 Civic Si with 197K on it. And the compression numbers read a little low, but I haven't had an issue with the motor. It runs great. It doesn't burn barely any oil compared to this one. Within just 500 kilometers, it had burned so much. So I knew that engine was going to be a problem. And also, when I had gotten the parts car, it had like no oil in it, and it was black. So I was like, this motor's not going to be good. I knew from the get-go that I was going to have to do something about it. So I'm glad it presented itself quickly, and I didn't end up like driving the car for a long time and then having to swap it. So we'll get onto the interior. So as I said, my parts car was a 2-door. So being that I was trying to do a budget swap, I have a 2-door dash. So the 2-door dash fits into the car just fine. There's no issues there. The only differences are you need these corner trim pieces here. And then this side piece is smaller on the sedan because on the coupe, the dash, the door opening is different and they don't have the pillar window here. The major difference is the mirror wiring is right here. So to adjust your mirrors on the coupes, it's on the dash, but on the sedan, it's on the door. So being that I have a coupe wiring harness and dash, my mirror adjustment had to be rewired to this. So I can't even remember exactly how I did it, to be honest now. That's the funny thing. I extended a whole bunch of wires in the door with my grandpa. He's the wiring expert, so I got to give shout out to my grandpa for helping me rewire a bunch of stuff on this car. If you look here too, this is a 4-door and it has 2 window switches. That's a funny story there. So because of the fact that I have a 2-door wiring harness, I can only control the front 2 windows from this master switch. The rear windows do work, but we had to custom wire those in. Thought about it after the fact and I remembered. So I swapped in door harnesses out of a 2-door SI as well, and I flipped around the polarity for the lock and for the window motors because they did not work with the 2-door harnesses. And with the 4-door harnesses plugged into the 2-door dash harness, the driver window didn't work, the door locks wouldn't work, and only the passenger window would work. And it would only work from the master switch. It didn't work from the passenger side switch. So I had lots of little messing around with stuff to figure out what actually there, and I realized like everything was different. So that's why I ended up just swapping every little harness in the car to a 2-door. So this whole car is tricked into thinking it's a 2-door 2010 SI coupe when it's actually an 07 EX. Anyway, that's pretty much all I'm going to waste my time talking about wiring. But I will just quickly mention the rear window switches. To get these to work, we tapped into the power port on the center console. There's a port on the SI center console for 12-volt power supply. So we just tapped into that for both sides and got those to work. You just can't roll them up from the front. So anyone who's sitting in the back still has a normal Civic experience. It's not like they don't have window privileges. And the sunroof, we use the 2-door roof harness and flip the polarity for the sunroof motor. And for some reason, I still have not gotten these 2 dome lights to work up front, but the rear dome light works fine. So that's one thing I have yet to figure out, is my dome lights don't work in the front. But actually, they were working before I painted the headliner black. So I think it was something I forgot to plug back in, but I just have yet to care to take that apart because I don't use those anyways. So now I'll talk about the body real quick. So back here, I have it made to look like an 09 to 11 SI. I swapped in tail lights out of a 09 to 11. This is the SI badge off of my first SI, which there's one other public video on my channel, and it's of my first SI sedan. That car, I totaled it by smashing into a deer, ripping around at night like a moron. So anyway, this badge is off of my original SI because I took it off before it went to auction. I got red badges, and this spoiler, I actually got it in a trade for the original front bumper for this car. So the guy who traded me the spoiler had a silver SI sedan, and I think he still has it, but it had he put a Mugen wing on it and took off the stock silver wing. So I was like, I need a silver wing. And I had the front bumper for sale because it was an 06 to 08 style. And I liked the 09 to 11 because that was the style of my first Civic. And this is just the nicer looking front end. It's extremely buggy right now because I highway drive this thing every day, so don't judge that. It's also got dirt on it, and it's got a broken fog light right now because someone shot a rock at me on the highway. So I got to order a new set of fog lights. I've got to polish the headlights pretty bad. They've gotten very faded out over this summer just from parking it in the sun all the time. But yeah, so the front bumper is off of an 09 to 11 base model, and the grill was also a base model grill, but I stripped all of the chrome off of it with a razor blade and then prepped it for paint. And this bumper, I got it for $50, and it was cracked in this corner and cracked up in this area, and I plastic welded it, repaired it, and then got it painted at my work. I'm a body man, and I'm not a painter, so I had the painter do his magic on it. It's a pretty good match for being a butt match. If you look right here, the bumper doesn't fit exactly perfect because it's an 8th gen, and they'll have weird fitment issues like that. On this side, it's pretty much fine, but yeah. So the grill, we just sprayed gloss black, and I got the SI badge off of the coupe parts car. It is not exactly meant to fit a sedan grill, but I made it work, and it looks pretty original to me, so I'm happy with it. The plate bracket is like angled down because it's off of the 06 to 08 bumper, but I actually kind of like how it looks angled down like that, so I've left it. But one other thing, the rims, these are TE Reps. They're Avid 1 AV06s, and these actually came on the parts car. I got 3 of them from the parts car, and one of them was completely smashed from the accident that it was in. So this one over here is a new one that I had bought. Spent like $450 to have this shipped to my house. And because those ones were so much older, they changed the design, and this one actually says Avid 1 AV06. The other ones just have that. But no one's going to notice that detail unless I point it out to them. I'll go over some other background details of the car real quick. So the driver's side window is the only thing that's ever had a claim on it. It was the driver's side window and the pillar window, and that was a vandalism claim. And that actually happened in my friend Taylor's ownership of this vehicle. So before me, Taylor bought this car from the original owner. It was a 5-speed R18 EX from BC. And he flew all the way there and drove it across the country to get it back here because he wanted a clean base model Civic 5-speed. And after about 2 months of him having it, I had already had my friend Ben total his 2-door SI, and I bought it off of him for $1,300 because he crashed it with no insurance. That's a long story there. But anyways, I was looking for a donor car for my swap. Not a donor car, but the car to swap everything into. And here he is with this thing, and I was like, ooh. And I had a white 2-door SI, so I offered to trade him this car plus some cash on his end because my SI had less kilometers and it was in equally good shape with rust, like very little rust at all. And so he gave me $3,000 on top for this car. So I got this car plus $3,000 to play with for my swap. Obviously, I had other money, but I was like, okay, I can throw all this money at the car, no problem. I ended up getting this car running and driving with way less than that money. So I ended up actually only spending about $1,500 of that money to get this thing running and driving. By now, I've gone through all of that because I've bought other stuff for the car. But this is an extremely budget Civic Si sedan. Technically, like, obviously, I traded a $8,000 car for this plus $3,000, so it wasn't like I got it for free, but it almost felt free to me because it was a free upgrade. All I had to do was the work. So in the engine bay, everything pretty much looks stock except for my ghetto passenger side engine mount over here, and that's because the dog bone mount is different on the R18 versus the SI. So I had to make these little adapter plates to extend the dog bone mount so that it'll bolt into the engine mount bracket. The R18 mount was way too long and the SI mount was too short, so I did what I had to do. You can go buy a like $450 Hasport motor mount kit that is billet, that's the word I was looking for, and super overkill. So I was not trying to do that, and I was trying to do this budget, so I made these plates out of some like 1/4-inch thick steel plate, and I painted them black, just like I painted the dog bone mount black. So this car has no AC. I've got the AC lines disconnected right here because I need a SI sedan AC condenser. It's actually different on the Acura CSX and the SI sedan than it is on every other one. So I need one specific to that car. My parts car was a coupe, so the AC line interferes with the headlight. So I have to go get and I also have a spare R18 condenser right here. And the AC line is also different on it. So aside from the ghetto mount over here, everything fits on the transmission side just fine. The 2 bolt holes on the frame rail line up right there. However, the bottom one that goes into the side of the frame rail, there's no bolt hole tapped in the rail. There's one in the wrong spot, and I believe it's not even threaded because the R18 just has the 2 as far as I remember. But I haven't had an issue there as far as like shifting around. Everything fits tight and there's no problems with that. As for mods, this thing just has this freaking hot air engine intake. This is off of my first SI that I totaled, and I kept this before it went to auction as well. It's going to be very hard to see, but in the back I have Skunk 2 Alpha headers. They're very rusty because I got them used, and they made the car sound a lot more aggressive. And after I put the headers on, I originally had that with the stock catback, and I now have I landed kind of hard on my back there. I now have a Skunk 2 Mega Power exhaust. It's just the 3-inch. I think there is a bigger one, but this thing sounds pretty fucking loud, and there's no cats on the car, so don't tell the cops. But yeah, this is actually off of a coupe, but it fits my sedan just fine, so I don't have an issue with it. It doesn't hit anywhere except over bumps. It's rubbing on the spring here, so I've got to shift something around and fuck with it. But it's not too much of a concern, other than just it makes kind of an annoying noise every once in a while. But yeah, sounds good. And I put a Cometic exhaust manifold gasket in there because when I first put the header on, it was leaking from the manifold gasket. So it's good now. One other issue I had with this thing is I had to pull the freaking motor and trans like 2 months ago because the flywheel broke. The ring gear sheared off of it, so the car would just not start and the thing was free spinning. I was able to bump start it, but I had to pull the transmission to fix that, so I decided to just pull them both out because it's easier to do that, especially when you're doing it on the ground because I don't have a lift. So yeah, I did it that way. But I got that fixed up. I just threw a used flywheel in there that was in way better shape than the one I had, so should be good to go with that. I've put a bit over 12,000 kilometers on this car now since SI swapping it, and it's been really fun, and I haven't had any issues other than the flywheel breaking and the engine that I knew was going to be bad in the first place. So yeah, I forgot to mention about one other issue I had. I posted about it in the 8th Gen Civic group. So I no longer have the clip here even, because I took it out so that I don't forget and put the rod here. I always store my prop rod on the floor in the back seat now, because one time I was driving and it jumped out of the clip, landed on my exposed positive terminal, and shorted through the wire, through the prop rod, all the way over to the rad support here, and it was catching on fire. It melted the battery, and it melted the ground cable down to bare wire. And there was a fire on this side of the engine bay and also a fire on this side of the engine bay. This plastic piece I replaced with a different one from the junkyard. This one I left to tell the story. It's still a little bit melted up from when the prop rod fell on it briefly. This is not even the same prop rod because I was on the side of a road where there was a whole bunch of water in the ditch, and the prop rod was so hot it was burning everyone. My brother and I fucking both were going nuts trying to get the fire out, and he burned his palms on the prop rod, and I burned my forehead on the prop rod, and I now have a permanent scar right in my hairline from the prop rod. So anyway, fuck that thing. I threw it in the ditch, and it landed in a whole bunch of water. Ended up getting a different prop rod, but I don't even keep it in the engine bay anymore, just as a precaution. I'm just going to talk a little more about it, and then I'll fire the car up. But so I painted the engine bay black before I put the motor in the first time, because my plan is, it originally was and still is, to paint this entire car black. I want to do like a gloss black like I have the grill. The grill does look really nice, but it's just dirty and dusty from the bugs, so that's why it doesn't look too great. But I want to do the car black and black wheels as well, gloss black. And I think that'll look fucking badass. I want to also get new headlights, I think, once that's done. Taillights, I want to keep the stock taillights. I don't like when people do clears or the weird, like, spec-D taillights. I'm not a fan of those. So I'm going to do the small bit of rust repair that this car needs before it gets painted as well. It's just a little bit of rust here on each side. And there is a previous repair that was not claimed, but was definitely done here, that was then scraped again. So I'm going to have to fix that up. The original owner loved to kick his boots off on the rocker. So there's a whole bunch of dents on the rocker there that I have to touch up. And this car has a hail claim because I got hit with hail recently. So it's potentially going to be a write-off for the hail. So if it is, I'm going to just buy it back and use that money for my paint job. So I'm actually not upset that it's going to be a write-off. So the last thing is the rear bumper. It's got a whole bunch of previous damage on it that was touched up with a rattle can. And this was prior to my ownership. It's also been rear-ended by several license plate bolts. And it's got a big dent over here. Can't remember exactly where. It's right here. You can only really see it in certain lighting. but I don't feel like sanding out all of this damage and fixing a big low spot in the bumper. So I'm just going to try to source a better condition used one from the junkyard. I'm sure I can find one because this one's rough. And if I'm painting the car, it doesn't matter what color bumper I get. I've been looking for a cleaner silver one, and I was debating taking the one off of my other car because I have 2 of these silver sedans, but the other one is just a base model DX. But I don't want to make the other car ugly to make this one nicer, so I'm just going to wait until I paint the car. Couple things inside to note are I've got a check engine light for a evap code at the moment. It only just appeared yesterday, so I'm not sure what that's about. I'm currently trying to figure it out, but the car seems to run just fine still. I've got the VSA light on because when you have it on, I don't like it, so I always turn it off. And then the airbag light is on. Ooh, there's a nice 8th gen coupe right there with a weird wing on it. Anyways, the airbag light is on for the passenger seat because of the occupant detection sensor. It is not working properly. So I have to get the passenger seat reprogrammed in order to fix that airbag light. But other than that, the car is fine. And I'm going to enter my radio